Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Ever After Paper Crafts, and today I am going to show you how I made this card. It has been my honor and thrill this month to be able to guest design for your next stamp. And if you caught one of my videos a couple weeks ago, you would have seen me debuting this stamp set along with two other stamp sets that were unveiled this month for your next stamp. This is one of the stamp sets and it is absolutely adorable. I love this stamp set. It is so cute for little boys, big boys, even girls, tomboys, everybody. It is so super cute. So I wanted to post one more card this month regarding this new release, and I'm super excited to do so. So this is the card that I created for this next card. It's really fun. It's a little scene that I created, and to create the background here I used some Distress Oxide inks, a little bit of water, then I colored the truck with my Zig watercolor markers, and then I created this scene here using some dyes from my stash. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is create this Distress Oxide inked background so that can be drying while we go ahead and color our truck. So let's go ahead and move all of this to the side here. Now I already cut out my rectangle using Lawn Fawn. Pardon me. This is the largest square from the Small Stitch rectangle die set. So it's the largest rectangle set in that set. And let me apologize for my voice. I have had a horrific sinus infection the last few days, and so if I sound a little scratchy, that's why. Okay, so I went ahead and already off camera cut this out, so this is ready to go. I'm going to bring some scratch paper over, and I'm going to begin to do my inking. Now, the colors that I used are my Distress Oxide Broken China and my Distress Oxide Faded Jeans. I think that's what it's called. Yes, Faded Jeans. So those are the two colors that I use. Now all I do is I have, just right now, I only have two blending tools. I plan to get more in the near future because I find I'm constantly changing the pads. But I just bought some cheap little, can you see that little, oh gosh, my words are failing me, Velcro squares from a local craft store, and they have adhesive on the back, and these pads just stick right on them, so that way I have them with each color. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Broken China one off as well as the Faded Jeans. These are the two that we're going to be using. I have to tell you guys, I have been playing a lot more lately with the Distress Oxide inks, and I am in love with these. I love my regular Distress inks, but these inks truly blend so effortlessly. I hope it picks up on camera how truly wonderful these are. You get almost a chalky-like outcome with them, and you really can just put the color down and it blends itself. I'm not working hard to blend this out. I'm just kind of globbing the color on. Now I'm switching over to my Faded Jeans, and I'm just going to take a paper towel. Normally I'd have a piece of cardstock, but I forgot to grab one before I started filming. And that's just so your fingerprints don't get in the way, because your fingerprints will react to the Distress ink and kind of leave little fingerprint marks on your project, which you don't want. So, so now I have the Faded Jeans. And as you can see, it's kind of a little bit blotchy, so I'm going to go back in with my Broken China and just easily blend this out. Look how easily these two colors, one is very light, one is very dark, and they are just blending effortlessly. Can you see that there? I hope the camera is picking that up. They are just truly seamlessly blending together, and I'm barely moving my wrist. I mean, you really don't have to work hard at it at all. So we are done with our Distress inks. I'm going to go ahead and take these pads off so I don't get them mixed up. And then we're going to go ahead and spritz this with a little bit of water. Just like regular Distress inks, so the Distress Oxide inks react with water, and they create a really cool distressed effect. So I'm going to take my water bottle. This is a distress sprayer. I like this particular sprayer because It gives you a measured, even spray each time, unlike a regular water bottle where you might not know what you're going to get. So to me, it was worth a couple extra bucks. I think I only paid like $5 for this, and to me, it was worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and just hold it about, a foot or so above my paper here and lightly spray it just a couple times. And I'm going to let it sit for just a minute, and then I'm going to dab it with my paper towel. And this is a clean paper towel. And there you go. Really cool Distress look to it. I just love that look that the water gives. And I'm actually going to spray just a little bit more so we get some up top. I didn't get it as well up top in the lighter blue as I would like. So I sprayed it just a little bit more. Get the ink off my fingers. All right, so there we go. We're going to go ahead and set this aside now so that can start drying. And I'm going to now color my image. I chose today to use this truck right here from the Got Mud stamp set from Your Next Stamp, which again just came out this month. I already have it on my acrylic block, and I'm going to go ahead and bring over a scratch piece of paper. This is just not really a scratch piece, a stray piece, I guess you could call it. And this is Bristol Smooth. I have played around with a lot of different papers when it comes to my Zig Clean Color Real Brush watercolor markers. Say that 10 times fast. But in my experience, I have found the Bristol Smooth works the best for me. I know other crafters that use Canson XL watercolor paper or other types of watercolor papers. I've gotten decent results with those, but the water and the ink moves the best for me using the Bristol Smooth cardstock. Bristol Smooth is also quite cheap, which is another reason why I love that it works good for me, because it's not very expensive and you can get a really large pack. I got mine on Amazon, but you can also get it at Michael's, I believe, sells it. So I just inked up this this little truck image here with Hero Arts black dye ink. This is perfect for watercoloring, and it dries quickly as well. We're going to just go ahead and stamp this down onto our scratch piece here of Bristol Smooth cardstock. And there we go. Now, whenever you have what I probably should have used my Misty for this, because if you can see here, the tires, there's a little bit of splotchiness in the tire because it's a very thick, without lines part of the stamp. And whenever you have solider images with photopolymer stamps, it helps to sometimes use a cushion or use a Misty or some other type of stamping tool. I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to take a marker and fill it in, and then I'm going to fussy cut this whole thing out. So I'm not really worried about it, but that's just a tip. Excuse me, if you're using these colors at home, these supplies at home. Now I used very few Zig markers for my project today. I only used, oops, sorry about that. I only used 4. I used red, gray, blue-gray, and peacock blue. So I'm going to go ahead and color the truck, the main body of the truck, with the peacock blue. I also am using a water brush. This is a Zig water brush. I love this particular one. It has a very fine tip, and I really like that I can get into small places in my images. But if you don't have a water brush, you can simply use a paintbrush and dip it in a little cup of water and work that way. So all I'm going to do is kind of put my actual Zig marker where I feel that there's going to be some shading. And again, I am not an artist in any way, so I'm just kind of guessing, you know, where it might be darker or lighter. And I always keep a paper towel nearby too. Sometimes the water comes out of this brush a little strong like it did just then. And so I want to, you know, have a brush handy to kind of wipe that off. Also, when you're going in between colors, so, you know, in a little bit here, we're going to be using some gray and we're going to be using some red. You want to get your brush clean before you start working with another marker color. So I always keep a paper towel nearby when I'm doing this technique. So far we've done this part of the truck. Now I'm going to come down here where I think there'd be a little bit of shading as well. Down here and around here at the front. I love his little tongue. Isn't that adorable? These images are just so much fun. And every time my 4-year-old sees me with these stamps out, he claims the card. Before I can even make it, Isaac claims the card. So it's actually pretty adorable. Now, you probably saw what just happened. I had my marker sitting here and it rolled right over my surface, which was still wet, and it got some ink right here, if you can see that, right here outside of the truck. I'm not worried about it. This set does come with coordinating dies, and the coordinating dies will leave a little bit of white around the outside of the image. I don't happen to have the coordinating dies, although they're awesome. I just don't happen to own them. So I will be cutting this out myself, and when I cut things out myself, which some people call fussy cutting, whatever you want to call it, when I cut images out myself, I cut right up against the line. So you're not going to see that just kind of spilled out of the line there because I'm going to cut it. Okay, so we've got the blue of our truck done. I'm going to wipe my brush off and go ahead and cap this peacock blue marker. Next, I'm going to work with my red, and this is just red. That's what this color is. It's just simply red. And I'm going to put some red here and here. I just kind of thought like headlights, taillights kind of thing. So we're going to do that and over here. And then next I'm going to work with my gray. And for my gray, I'm just going to do the bumper and the front and the back. Listen to me, I'm probably not even calling these things correctly, the right names. I don't know a whole lot about cars. That's not my thing. My thing is crafting. So forgive me if I'm calling these things the wrong name. All right, and now I'm going to do the little exhaust pipe up here, and I'm also going to color that gray. And all I do is I put a little line down with the marker, then I use my water brush pen to pull that out, that color out, and it softens it, and you get different variations of color, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Now I noticed on this tire right here, I didn't get all the way with the blue, so I'm going to just put a tiny little bit so I can complete that coloring. That was just an oversight on my part. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm also going to put some gray on the inside of the tires, just kind of right here. I'm going to pretend they're, about to spin or are spinning, so I'm going to focus the shading there and just pull that color out. It's going to be darker right there. All right, and then I just want a little bit of gray right here at the front of the car, or the truck rather. And then I'm going to go ahead, I forgot to color his tongue red because this is such a small, his tongue is so small, I'm not going to bother with the water for the tongue. And sometimes I do that. Sometimes I will color an entire image without using water. What's great about the brush markers is that they don't have to have water. They can blend with each other. And then I'm going to take this blue gray to just give kind of a light tone to the smoke cloud, pardon me, as well as to the inside of the windows. And then blend that out. So it's just a very, very faint coloring inside the windows. And normally what I do is I grab my heat gun when I go from color to color when I'm coloring an image, because if you accidentally get that water pen into a color you've already done, it will bleed. It'll reactivate it. But for the purposes of the video, I'm just trying to go really fast, and I'm not doing that today. But that's a tip when you're coloring something with your zig markers and you're going from color to color. It helps to grab your heat gun and give it a quick dry before going to that next color. So now I'm just taking, this is just a zig marker that I actually got this at Michael's. It has two different ends to it, and I'm just using that to fill in the tires that I didn't stamp properly. And we are done coloring. So the next thing that I would do is take my scissors and fussy cut this out. But because I didn't want you guys to have to watch me do that, off camera I did this process already and cut out this truck right here. So hopefully you can see that. I also added off camera some glossy accents to the windows to give them a little bit of shine. So now I'm going to bring the original card back over so you can kind of see what the next step is going to be. And we are going to be creating this little scene here. So we've got a road and we've got kind of a grassy hillside, and it kind of builds up on each other. So the road is a little bit popped on top of the grass rather, is a little bit popped on top of the road. And it just gives this really cute little effect. So what I did is off camera, I went ahead and cut out the dies that I would need. Now mine happens to be from Lawn Fawn, but I'm sure that there are plenty of similar such dies from different companies. This was the die that I used to cut the hillside, and it's just from the Stitched Hillside die set from Lawn Fawn. And so that went here, and I cut it out. This just happens to be Wild Wasabi Stampin' Up! Paper, so I cut that off camera to save time for the video. And then I also used the road dies from Lawn Fawn as well, and these come with two parts. I cut this out with a yellow cardstock for the yellow lines underneath the roadway, and then this I cut out with black cardstock to lay on top of it. And I already did that off camera and also glued them together just to save a little bit of time. But again, all I did was run those through the die cut machine. So now we're ready to bring our piece of our panel back that we did the Distress Oxide inking on. I'm going to grab my, pardon me, I'm going to grab my adhesive tool. I use the dot liner adhesive. This is fabulous. I get mine at Simon's Stamp and I love it. So I'm just going to run this along the bottom, and I'm not going to put any adhesive up top here. And I'm going to just put this right along, line it up directly with the bottom of the little sky scene that we created with our inks. Now this road is going to kind of slide right underneath. So we're going to put just a tiny little bit, and actually I think I'm going to use a Zig glue pen because it's got a little bit of a thinner stream than the actual adhesive does. And I'm going to run just a small little bit of adhesive along the bottom. And then I'm going to turn it over and just run a whole lot on the back. Okay. And then we're just going to kind of lift up our grass just a little bit, because remember we didn't put adhesive on the top. And then just line it up directly with the same kind of movement as the hillside, the grassy hillside, and then stick it down. Okay, perfect. So that's our little scene. Isn't that adorable, guys? And our truck is going to look so cute on this. So the next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to take my cutout truck and set it aside for a moment so I can get out our sentiment. Now I used two different stamps from the stamp set for the sentiment. I used Monster and Thanks for one, to combine it together to say Monster Thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and get those out, and I am going to pull out my Misty for this. Now if you don't have a Misty, that's totally fine. You can use your clear blocks for this. You do not have to have a Misty to do this. I am going to use mine simply because I went to all this work to create this super cute little scene here, and I don't want to mess it up. I can be a really messy stamper, and sometimes I'm not paying super attention and I don't ink things right, and I don't want to mess up this cute scene that I have created. So I'm going to stick this in my Misty here and get my sentiment all lined up. So let's see here, Monster and Thanks. Cute, so cute. All right, so let's see here. Take that. Now I embossed this with, let me see here, I'm a little bit off camera, but let's see. I'm going to grab my Versamark ink because I'm going to emboss this with clear embossing powder, so it'll kind of give it a little bit of a shine to it. Actually, I did that wrong. I apologize. I'm going to stamp that in Versamark first. So actually, I did it right. I'm going to stamp it in Versamark first and then use my black Onyx VersaFine ink. And then you use the clear embossing powder. And that is a way, by the way, just kind of a tip there, that is a way that you can emboss in any color that you want without buying different colored embossing powder. You just put your stamp in the Versamark first and then whatever color ink, and then you use clear embossing powder and you are good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the Monster Thanks down. Cute. Set our Misty aside now. We are done with it. And now we are ready to grab our clear embossing powder. And this just happens to be Stampin' Up! Clear embossing powder. Just you can use whatever you have in your stash. And I forgot to run my my embossing buddy or my static tool on this, so hopefully that won't bite me in the tushy. But that's always good to do before you emboss. Use your anti-static tool. Now I'm going to grab my heat gun, let it warm up for a moment, and then we're just going to run it right over that sentiment. Hopefully the camera is picking up this cool change. So cool. I never cease being amazed by embossing powder. You know, when I first started stamping with my mom many years ago, unfortunately my mom passed away a long time ago, but when I was a kid we started stamping and we bought our first thing of embossing powder, and this was before they had embossing tool or anything like that, and we would actually turn the stove on and hold our paper over the burner, and that heat would get the embossing powder to do its thing. So it's just kind of a neat memory from my childhood. So anyway, so here we are. We're done with our sentiment. So now all we have left to do is put our little truck on, and I am going to use some dimensionals. I just use Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, but Pop Dots, whatever you have in your stash, foam tape, whatever you like to use will work just fine. And I'm just grabbing just a couple. And I'm going to peel off the backing paper there. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick this right about there. Then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to use some foam tape along the back. And the reason why I like to use foam tape is it gives an evenness, as opposed to if I just put like 5 or 6 dimensionals, you know, along the back, and then we're to send this in the mail, it might get a little flattened in the places where there's not Pop Dots or dimensionals. Whereas if I put more foam tape like this, it's more even in terms of the dimension that's given, so it won't flatten as badly in the mail. So that's why I like to use foam tape. Now I went ahead off camera and pre-cut, this is just a standard note card, A2 size, 5.5 by 4.25. And this happens to be the Nina 110 weight cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and peel off the backing paper of my foam tape. Get all of these peeled off here. And then I'm just going to center this on the front of my note card. And I always like to, for some reason, I feel like I get it centered better when I flatten it first. So I'm going to flatten it first and then center it right on my note card. And then just for a finishing touch, I'm going to pull out the Your Next Stamp gumdrops. This is from this May release. And these are fabulous. I cannot say enough good things about these. I just love them. And they really don't add a lot of bulk to your project either. And they're so fun. They really just add that extra little oomph. So I'm just going to put just a few on here, kind of wherever I like. There's really no magic to it. Oops, I accidentally didn't pick up the adhesive on this one, so let's try this one. So I'm going to use 2 blue and a green. I always like to use odd numbers when I'm doing these. I don't know why. And that's it. So this is the card that I just made for you on camera, and here is the one that I made for today's sample. And actually, I used 5. Let's grab a couple more, and then we'll finish it off here. All right, there we go. Cuteness. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you will head over to Your Next Stamp. Check out this month's release. It is fabulous. I promise you won't be disappointed. And leave a comment, because there is a chance that one of you lucky commenters could win this adorable stamp set from Your Next Stamp. So thank you guys so much for stopping by and for watching and for putting up with my cold and funny voice. And thank you so much, and I will catch you guys on the next video. I have a lot more coming. I got a little behind with my cold this week, but I have a lot more videos coming for you guys this week. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.